Calling the meeting to order. It's been feels like it's been a long time, but yet the summer went wicked quick. Wicked, that's a Massachusetts term, quickly, didn't it? And I hope everyone had a good summer. Thank you for coming back and giving your time and energy to the Council on Aging. So we're called to order. The agenda everyone should have. There's no public here, so we're skipping over the public comment part. And we're fortunate to have Judy and Kelly here from the Open Space Initiative I don't know if initiative is the right word, but from the Open Space something in Wakefield. And they're going to make a little presentation to us on the progress, explain what it is, and then the progress, where things are. So Judy, Kelly, thank you for coming. I don't know who's going to do the talking. Hi, Julie. We just started.
Thank you for having us here. Judy, I see you're on mute. Did you want to say a few words before I jumped into things?
Oh, I just wanted to introduce myself. I'm Judy Green. I'm the chair of the Open Space and Rec Plan Committee. We started this process almost a year ago. The last update was 2005. I was involved with that. So we're hoping this will spur a lot more interest in open space. And I'm glad that we're including the Council on Aging in this process, because I feel like the last go around, there really wasn't a strong voice from that population. So we're hoping this is going to make a difference this time. And this is Kelly King, our planner with the Horsley Witten Group, and she'll lead the presentation. They've done an outstanding job so far. So I think you'll really be pleased with the plan.
Judy or Kelly, will Kelly be sort of explaining what the purpose of
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Thank you.
Yes, and I will go ahead and share my, is it possible for me to share my screen?
Yeah, wait a minute.
Okay.
Okay, you got it? You should be able to now.
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Okay, and you should be seeing my screen with the Wakefield Open Space and Recreation Plan update on there.
Yep.
So again, my name is Kelly King. I'm an environmental planner with the Horsley Witten Group. We are helping the town of Wakefield update its open space and recreation plan, or as we like to call it, the OSRP, a little less wordy. So in addition to Horsley Witten and town staff, we also have the guidance of an open space and recreation committee that was stood up at the same time we started the plan process. And that's made up of various representatives from town departments and boards, and includes your very own Karen Burke. So I will note also that I'm not the only staff person from Horsley Witten involved in this plan. The project manager, Krista Moravec, was unable to join us tonight, but if there are any questions that I can't answer, we'll follow up with her and then via Karen to relay those answers back to you. So tonight, I'm just going to provide a very brief overview of what the OSRP is, where we currently are, and then we're really hoping to open this up to questions and discussion. As Judy said, we like to do these very targeted kind of mini interviews, mini group discussions with stakeholders so we can get your insights into how open space and recreation is going in Wakefield. So first off, thinking about what's covered in the open space and rec plan, it is right there in the plan name. But what open space and what recreation is defined kind of narrowly. So for open space, that is public or private undeveloped land. It has some sort of conservation and recreation interest. So these are often spaces, things like your town forest or your conservation areas. And these spaces often have multiple environmental benefits. So not only are they places where you can go and walk or bird watch, they're important for water quality protection, for habitat protection. When we talk about recreation facilities, the plan is very specific and only deals with outdoor facilities. So these are things like your neighborhood parks, your playgrounds, fields, rail trails, and they typically have more kind of program spaces and equipment there for you. So why do we need an OSRP? Well, first off, they are required by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, so you do have to have them. The Division of Conservation Services is the state division that approves these plans, and they would like to see an update every 7 years. But kind of in terms of what the purpose of the OSRP is, it's meant to be a long-range vision for how the town should manage its resources so that these recreation and conservation benefits are both maintained and improved over time, so residents can continue to enjoy using them. We also know that these types of spaces provide important benefits beyond just being a space to play and recreate. We know that they're important to your mental and physical well-being. They're places where you can, celebrate social connections and connect with friends and family. They have important environmental benefits to, again, water quality, habitat. They also help us address impacts from climate hazards. So we want to make sure that you're stewarding these resources so you as residents who want to be outside and recreate get those benefits, but also so that your community is kind of improved that way and more resilient and more well-rounded. And so, as I said, the OSRP is required, and that is important because having an approved OSRP means that the town can access certain state grants for open space and recreation improvements and land acquisition. It's also helpful for other types of funding because if you're able to point to a particular project highlighted in the OSRP, that recommendation has gone through a public process, kind of been vetted, and so the town can point to that for additional support for other sort of grant applications. So the OSRP itself is quite prescriptive in terms of the sections and what you're supposed to cover in each section, but essentially the plan is covering 3 questions. And so the first part, these snapshot and inventory sections are asking, what's the baseline? Where is the town currently? And so those sections are talking about the current status of the community, of the resources, what sorts of trends are seeing. So that portion of the plan is kind of already written in draft format. The next section, the needs sections, are asking where do we want to be, and that's really the meat of the plan. It helps define, the future direction of where the community wants to go, and that piece we're kind of wrapping up writing. So the feedback that you give us today will get incorporated into that section. And so the needs section helps us identify areas for improvement to meet your needs as residents, to make sure that natural resources are being appropriately stewarded, and also importantly, making sure that the town has appropriate resources to make sure that they can, do their job and maintain and manage these spaces. And then that goals and objectives piece is the sort of short statement of, yes, this is what we want for our future. And really the very important piece of the plan is this 7-year action plan. And that addresses the question of, well, we have these goals, how do we get to them? How do we accomplish them? And so the action plan lays out these recommendations. It assigns some level of priority. It identifies the primary and supporting actors that are responsible for making sure those actions get done. And then it also identifies possible sources of funding. The town can get connected to those funding sources to be able to go through and pursue implementation. And then finally, another key part of the plan is the ADA self-evaluation. So that reviews how accessibility can be improved across your open space and recreation sites as a whole, so that all users, regardless of ability, have opportunities to recreate in town. So where we are right now, we're kind of in this green, we're drafting the updated OSRP. Again, we're talking to a few last boards and commissions. We recently talked to the Environmental Sustainability Commission. We're talking to you tonight. We will meet with the Open Space and Recreation Committee, who again are kind of our guiding voices later this month. And we'll start to workshop goals and objectives and possible actions. We'll also set a date for our next public event at that meeting. So please stay tuned for that. We anticipate that'll happen this fall. And so that next public event is a chance for us to kind of report back out to the community and say, did we get it right? Are there areas where we need to course correct a little bit? And so we'll take that feedback, make any necessary revisions, and then bring that back out to the public for comment, bring it also to boards and commissions for their support. And then eventually we're aiming to submit to the state in the winter for review and approval. We also want to state the OSRP is just one plan of many important plans that the town has done. I think the OSRP is a little special in that it relates to a lot of different pieces and goals that the town has, whether that's for climate resilience, healthy lifestyle, or transportation. So we can kind of highlight these different areas that the town is doing important work in the OSRP. We also want to emphasize that the OSRP is using feedback collected as part of the master plan process. So we're not ignoring other processes going on. We just get to be a little bit more specific with our recommendations in the OSRP. A quick summary, because we have done a lot of community engagement so far in terms of what we've heard related to more community needs. Residents have told us that they want spaces, again, where anybody of all ages and abilities and needs can recreate. People want safe connections to sites. They want to have options other than driving to get to parks and playgrounds. They want the town to maintain these open space and recreation resources to a really high standard. And they also want to increase awareness that these sites exist and that they benefit the community. In terms of natural resource protection, residents noted that they do have concerns about how climate change will affect the health and integrity of resources. But at the same time, they recognize that open space and recreation sites can be used to mitigate impacts from things like flooding and extreme heat. They want to protect the environmental benefits of these resources and, again, promote environmental stewardship. And circling to the ADA site evaluations, we've completed those evaluations. We went out and did those, I believe, in December and June, I think it is. And so some common areas for potential improvements that we were seeing based on those evaluations were centered around ensuring parking spaces and walkways, benches, and playgrounds all meet accessibility requirements. But related to accessibility, we also heard from residents that they're interested in identifying sites where the town could go beyond minimum requirements and really think about inclusivity and make sure that these spaces are exciting places to recreate and are also accessible. So we will be meeting with the Commission on Disabilities in October to review those findings and get some more specific feedback from them as well. So at this point, that's that from me. I won't make you listen to me that much longer, but before we kind of turn to discussion, I just want to check if there are any general questions that we should address before I turn this back to you and ask for your feedback. And I will stop sharing because it's more interesting to look at you in the presentation.
The slide where you had your progress and where you are right now with the arrow about how you're still drafting, where does the review of ADA requirements fall in that? Like how much work have you done towards that already? Or is that something that's still left to be done?
So we've already completed those site evaluations. We're working at this point to kind of finish our write-up on that. And then at this point, what we'll do is take those findings to the Commission on Disabilities. They're an important entity for us to get their feedback from, and they will help us prioritize some of the recommendations that we've identified. So I think we'll meet with them early October, which will probably give us time to get their feedback before we go out to the public for our next event, which I think will work well in terms of getting public feedback on sort of accessibility related improvements as well.
I have a question, Kelly, about it. Was that what you wanted, Julie? Do you need more? Want more? You're good. I have a question about funding, which I know is sort of his background. Where did the funding to fund this project that you've been engaged on? Where did that come from? Do you know, from the town?
It came from ARPA funds that were appropriated from the town council.
Okay. And then you said in your presentation that part of the work will identify or help to identify sources of funding for possible implementation, I assume, or possible upgrades, possible whatevers that come out of this. Is that are those federal sources, state sources, private foundations, all of the above? I mean,
all of the above. I think the focus generally is more on the state funding, especially because the plan is kind of the first step you need to do to
Yeah,
qualify for some of these
yeah,
funding
yeah.
pieces. But again, for every recommendation, we're trying to identify those sources of funding, whether it's from town appropriations, or if it's more of a grant type project that the town would want to pursue.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, so you want to just ask us again what you would like from us?
Yeah, so I will go ahead. I'll just kind of run through the three questions that I have, and then you guys can take it wherever you're most interested in. So the first thing that we wanted to ask is, what is the town doing really well to meet the needs of Wakefield's older residents? So things that we really want to celebrate and want to call out as examples that should continue. Where are there areas where the town could do better, whether that's like specific sites that need to be improved or policies that could be changed, programs that could be added. And then the final question is, where do you see future opportunities to add new things that don't currently exist in the town, but maybe you see them elsewhere and would be excited to see them in the community? So I won't limit your imaginations there, but we generally try to encourage you to start off with something positive, so we can definitely highlight that in the plan. But again, this is open to you all.
Well, I would offer initially the positive step that in fact the town is very concerned and committed, or it seems to be committed to creating and nurturing open spaces for all. And through other initiatives, accessibility to those spaces. I mean, I guess, for example, like, would it be appropriate, does the open space to talk about sidewalks on public spaces? Can we give you feedback about that stuff?
We can take feedback about that. Obviously, it's an open space and recreation plan, so we'd be interested in sidewalks as they relate to those that are close to recreation sites. Certainly, we look at kind of pedestrian accessibility and those sorts of amenities. So I'm not going to say no, don't tell me about sidewalks.
Okay, well, the initiative is positive, open space preservation and nurturing and retaining or keeping it alive is a good thing, positive thing. I would add that accessibility in the form of sidewalks and crossing spaces, crossing lanes, pedestrian and places for wheelchairs and walkers and people with mobility devices is a very important part of, and restrooms, some kind of restroom relief ability in some spaces.
I think so, and I think some of the other things we've heard are lighting and seating. So there are options for people if they're out recreating and they need to take a rest, or that they have adequate lighting so they can see when it starts to get dark. And I think one of the things I learned the most from this whole process was all of the outdoor space that Wakefield has to offer. So I hope that with this initiative, we also can highlight that so people can really see, hey, look at the places I can go locally right in my own town to do some of these great outdoor things you don't have to travel to, and then potentially having a guide so I know which of those ones are going to be more accessible to me if I have low visual, if I have low vision, or if I have trouble walking, that I would know this is a great place to go. This one's not as good because doesn't have as much access. So maybe a chart or wayfaring signs that tell you those kind of things so you can plan your day.
And we've definitely heard those kind of comments about user comfort around seating and lighting. We've heard a lot of comments about promoting resources so users know that those are even an option to use. And also, again, as you noted, Karen, about what sort of amenities or accessibility kind of features are there so I can safely and comfortably recreate. Sherry, sorry, I think I almost cut you off.
I have a suggestion. And this is something I learned when our elderly parents were alive and came to town. I live near Veterans Field, just around the corner. They got to the corner and they were afraid to cross because the red hand came up. And they didn't understand that the red hand meant they still had a certain number of seconds to get across. So they all turned around and came back to my house. So I want to suggest that they improve the signaling at the crosswalks to indicate not just the red hand and the flat, but they didn't understand the flashing red hand meant caution. You could still go, but timing. I was just recently in Washington, D.C., and almost every crosswalk counted down the seconds. So you were crossing a 6-lane, giant, crowded street, and you weren't afraid to move across. So this is something to recommend to the DPW.
That's a tough
Thank you.
intersection there in general. The lighting, and folks are always eager to take that right onto North Ave, even though if you press the crosswalk button, it says no right on red, but it only shows that when someone's pressed the crosswalk button. So I think that regular travelers aren't used to not being able to take a right on red there for that crosswalk. And that is right in front of Veterans Park, like Sherry had said. But I was wondering, I saw the photo of the pickleball courts. Was that a big part of the initiatives that you've been working on?
So the pickleball court was not related to the plan. I
okay.
think that was already kind of set in motion
Yeah,
before the plan.
that was in the
but
works long before.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I was gonna say a positive would be that it's had such great repaving around that area to make getting to that court easier. I've seen folks of all ages using that area. I would say more because you can easily get from the handicap parking spaces now. All of that's repaved, which
Yeah.
is really nice.
That was built into the plan that Bill Renaud, the town engineer, helped design, to have that in mind, because that was a comment that he had received, so that it would be more accessible that way. So and I think they've really done a great job down there. One thing Karen had mentioned early in this process was having areas that are geared towards dementia-friendly type of areas. And I'm hoping that's something we can work on. Areas that are, I mean, from my own personal experience, it's so important to have accessible outdoor areas that you can bring people. So I'm hoping that will be part of this, that the older population can benefit from, because I know that's, you know, a growing concern in town. And it's nice to have something close by if you're caring for someone like that, where you can go and where there's seating, where you can walk a little area. We have a nice vista to look at. So I think that's something I'd like to see down the road.
I would say that's not just dementia friendly. I don't know how many, but there are a lot of parents with grown disabled children who are
Yes, yes,
great
I'm
to have.
sorry, you're right.
Yeah,
I should
so,
have
but you're right. I
qualified
mean, it's
that,
a great
yes.
thing to, but it would benefit,
Yeah.
you know, a lot of people. It would benefit the
Right,
community.
right. And we also, the Conservation Commission has a new trail steward program that was started during this process. And that's open to everyone. We have all types of trails, some that are a little steeper than others, some that are more gentle walks. If anyone is interested in joining that group, it's a great way to get outdoors, meet new people, see some new areas. So we have started some new initiatives at the start of this process. And you may have seen tonight's item about the floating wetland in Lake Quantapowhat, the grant proposal developed by the conservation agent, Rebecca Davis. That's really spurred a lot of new ideas. We're going to have a speaker series about bioretention systems, how to handle stormwater on your property, native plant ideas, all kinds of things like that. So, I mean, a lot of things have been spurred out of this plan already before it's even finalized, which is great.
Have there been any more talks about the garden boxes and accessibility to the gardening boxes over by Harts Hill and behind the playground that I can't remember the name of?
JJ Round.
Thank you.
I know Dan McGrath was looking into that. They were actually trying to find another area that would be more accessible, but I don't know that they've found a plot yet for that, because there's such demand, such high demand for these areas, that he wanted to try to start another one with that in mind. And that could be something that we could apply for a grant as well, I'm sure.
And that is definitely something that we can put into the plan to kind of, again, have that support. And we certainly hear from a lot of communities that community gardens are a big growing interest. So very popular.
Right.
I think we've heard a lot about what's going well, where you see kind of future opportunities, are there, Susan, existing things that maybe you could see some additional improvements or sites that could benefit again from some additional kind of love and attention?
Well, this isn't that, this is something else, but it's since we're planning 7+ years out. It would be great if there was a way for residents that don't drive or don't have people to take them to some of these open spaces to expand the transportation options. You know, this is a big ask, I know, but in terms of helping people access these sites, that additional transportation possibilities, raising money for additional transportation possibilities by the town to have a, I don't know what you call it, a ride on demand type of thing would be, not a taxi, but anyway, just put it in there because,
That is already being looked at as part of the master plan that's being
Okay.
worked on now. It's exactly that, an on-demand service.
but even,
Um,
you know, specifically to access open space, because we know how beneficial being outdoors is for people. And
Yes,
even if it's just to go sit and have a, you know, read a book for half an hour or whatever.
right, absolutely. And that's something that hopefully will come out of the master plan. And it would be local areas, but you could call and say, I'd like to go to this area. And
Yeah,
you can
yeah,
ride back and forth.
yeah.
Yep, no, I think that's great.
I will say, oh, go ahead, Jim.
I have a suggestion as a dog owner. It's nice that there are dog parks and dogs can socialize and move around there. I've seen that, and mostly I've seen the dogs and people looking pretty happy. And there's there's a lot of dog use of parks, and not everyone is conscientious about cleaning up after their dog. There's the park I'm near is the JJ Rounds, and there's not a reminder, there's not an urging, there's not whether it's poop bags to help out with that, or whatever ways there might be to deal with that. So it's a good thing and a good start to have a place for people who do have dogs. It would be, another thing to work on is encouragement of, help keep it a clean place.
I'm gonna ask that we wrap this part up in the next couple minutes. Good idea though, Jim. Kelly, just the final question, or maybe you've asked it, but just give us an underline.
Again, final question, any opportunities, any future opportunities that you really want to highlight? And if you think of something tonight, you can still email me directly or through Karen or Judy.
Yeah,
So
Karen's on in the committee, so we,
Yeah, any comments, any ideas, anything is really helpful.
well, thank you for coming and giving your time and the updates, and hopefully some of these we'll see in the next implementation in the next year or two.
Yeah.
And good to know about information session, educational things for the island, because I saw that in the item and I thought, oh, I wonder what's going to happen with this. It's going to become another Voc school, but anyway,
No.
okay.
thank you so much for your time. And again, through Karen, we'll kind of send out news about upcoming public engagement events once those are planned. So again, thank you
Thank
for
you
all
very
your
much.
ideas and time.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, the 301 number there, for those of you that don't know, is Bob Vincent. Are you there, Bob? Can you hear us?
Yeah, can you
Good.
hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. I
I'm
Googled the
away.
number. I
I'm
Googled
away.
it.
I'm away on vacation up in the White Mountains in New Hampshire, so my reception isn't the best. I couldn't get on Zoom.
We saw you for like 3 seconds and then you were gone, so thank you for giving up some vacation time to come. Okay, the next thing on the agenda is approval of the minutes from June 13th.
I'll
And
make a motion to approve the minutes from June 13th, 2024.
I'll
thank you.
second.
Jim second, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Opposed, anybody? Oh, thank you. All right, good. Financial report, June through August. Karen did send us a report and I resent it a little earlier today, but Karen, you want to take us over?
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and start in our new fiscal year that we closed out fine on in our fiscal year 23. So we're now 2 months into fiscal year 24, and we are on track. The numbers are all there for you. Financially wise, we increased our driver hours weekly up to 46 from 30. So that was a nice addition. We have 2 drivers on twice a week, and we're trying to up that to 3 times a week, having 2 drivers on. So that was built within this budget. But for budget, really, that's it. 2 years into the new fiscal year, we should be finding out in a couple of weeks what our formula grant money is going to be for the next year. I think it's going to go down a little bit because the last year's was based on BU's estimate of how many people would identify as 60 plus in the census, and we actually are about 200 people less than what they projected. And that's not Wakefield specific. Most communities, the numbers were a bit higher. Their projected numbers were higher than what actually came out on the census. So there's a bridge plan in place to help us cover that so we can budget for it next year.
Is there any accountability or for that in terms of people that might not have responded to the census?
No, I mean, it's
No,
not.
okay, okay.
That we just have to always encourage people to get out there and reply because it does matter.
Yeah,
Like you do count, and that it helps in these other ways.
right.
There was a push from the MTOA to increase the formula grant dollars from $12 per 60 and over to $14. That hasn't gotten passed yet, but that'll be a big help if that does with the way inflation has gone. But that's it for the budget, really. It's new fiscal year, closed out fiscal year 23. No problems.
Fiscal year is what again? Is it July through June?
Yeah, July 1st through June 30th. So we'll be starting the budgeting process for fiscal year 25 soon in the next couple of months. On that note, with the budgeting process, I'm going to work with HR to get some numbers. I would like to budget for another part-time receptionist to bring us back up to the numbers that we had prior to COVID, and actually during most of COVID, when we had the one position was converted from full-time to part-time. And now that we're back up and running and in full swing, I think it's important to have the hours back. So I'm going to attempt to do it that way instead of converting back to full-time to bring on a second part-time person.
Can we have a motion to accept this financial report as it's given, as it's presented?
Sure, I move to accept the financial report as presented.
Okay, I
Second that.
second.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm sorry, but I'm missing who makes the motion and who seconds. I heard Jim's voice because
It was
Jim-
Jim who made the motion.
you made the second, but who made the motion to accept?
I had said it, but I know someone else had said it as well.
Julie, okay.
Thank you. Yeah, that was kind of fast. I just, not to just cut off discussion, Karen, but let's, that can come in your report going forward, so we get this done. And in the director's report. But as a bridge, the numbers I on this report that you sent us, I'm struck by the increase between July and August. That was interesting. Increase in participants.
July is always a bit slow, and it really, this can be, if not skewed, but it makes a big difference when we have a couple of events. So we had a couple of events that I've already forgotten about in August that brought our numbers up. Like we had the big one was the barbecue sponsored by Bear Hill. So we had 30 plus people at that. And then, so that helps put the numbers up when we have a special event like that. But yeah, we're going strong. Rides, there's a bigger demand than ever for rides. We have 2 drivers now on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So we have Tuesdays starting in October. We're going to have the mornings will be dedicated to quick stops. So if people need to go to the bank, CVS, those kind of things, they need to do that on Tuesday mornings. Tuesday afternoon is Market Basket. And then Thursday mornings are Market Basket and Bingo. And that lets us keep the bus engaged for that. And then the Ford Flex that we have is used for medicals or appointments. So it's giving us more access. And then we're looking at which day we think is the best day to bring a second driver on. We're leaning towards bringing back Fridays. And then we can do Fridays would be for local only. So local medical, local appointments, or local shopping, because we only have the shorter window of hours. So that's the stuff we look at, but the driving is definitely a huge demand. I'm waiting for the grant applications to be released for the state to potentially get some state funding for a new bus, or not a new bus, but a second bus. We would like to have 2 buses. I think the need is there. For example, bingo, we have 12 people who get a ride to the senior center for bingo, and we only have 8 seats on the bus. So there's definitely a need. So the bus takes a group and then the car takes 2 trips. The biggest thing that I want to talk, well, 2 main things I want to talk about don't forget, save the date for the art show next week, 4 to 6. Stop by and see the work of our artists. But the part that I'm going to need some help if people are available are 2 upcoming events. Town Day, I sent out an email, I believe, asking if anybody would be interested in manning a table at Town Day. It is the Saturday of
October 7th is
7th, right? And it's
What
only
is-
3
I'm
hours.
sorry, what is it called?
Town Day.
Saturday.
Still
October
don't- Hmm. All right.
So we had it last year. It was very successful, highly attended. Some of the health department will be there doing flu shots. So we have the opportunity, if we wanted, to have a town COA table there. I think it's a great way to engage with the community, to see, similar to what the farmers market was, maybe some of the same crowd, but there's entertainment, there's a beer garden, there's a food court. Our POMS class is actually kicking it off at 1:00 with a POM routine. So if we have a couple of people, I'm going to be working on it though at the town, so I can't man the table. So if the board is interested in having a table, then we just need volunteers to man it. I can help set it up when I'm out doing my town day duties, but I'll be out one of the people helping for the whole overall thing, so I can't sit at our table specifically.
Karen, I did respond. I said I could be there. I can't do any lifting or anything like that, but I can be there to staff the
You can be
table.
there for the whole time?
Yeah, I could be there for the whole time,
Okay.
but other people would be.
What time is it at, Karen?
1 to 4. And I can have the stuff ready that we could give out. We have some more of the pill cases left. I've got some flashlights from Gas and Electric we could give out, so we can have a few things at the table.
Is there October 7th? So the October bulletin will be out by then to be available, right? To distribute.
Yeah, October doesn't get mailed out, but so it'll be a good place to hand it out.
Yeah.
And show what kind of things we're doing. And the big thing I really want to do is highlight the senior resource fair that is going to be on October 25th. We could definitely use help with that if anybody is available. We have a lot of people coming in. The big thing I'm working on now is getting the flyer together so we can really push out the advertising. Steve gave us permission to shut down the senior center for other programming for the day. So the actual resource fair will be from 10 to 1. We have MBTA is coming in to do Charlie cards. Leo is coming to do fuel assistance. We're going to have Wakefield people talking about our Wakefield fuel assistance. We have Mystic Valley Elder Services coming. The food pantry will be there. Housing is going to be there. Police, fire. I believe Melrose Wakefield is coming. So we have a huge, it's going to be a great event. The assessors will be there to talk about tax abatements. So it's for residents 60 and over of Wakefield. So we really want to push the advertising, but it'll be a big event for us.
I took the day off work, so you can count me in the whole day.
Yay, thank you.
That email you'd sent about helping at Town Day, I'm not positive I was on that chain. If anyone wouldn't mind looking into it. I know my email was spelled wrong in an email Susan sent out. I don't know if
Don't use the one you saw today.
And I don't know, I might not have sent it out to everybody. I might have sent it to Susan saying I'm going to bring it up at the meeting. So I don't think I sent an email. So Town Day, and it's a fun way. We're going to be up at the top, semi near the food court and the beer garden. It's a lot of fun. It's tons of people came last year. As long as we have good weather, it really is really well attended.
I'll send it out
near the food clinic.
either tonight or tomorrow. I'll send it to everyone else, Karen. I think you did just send it to me.
Karen, I'll be available for senior resource fair the whole time, whatever you need me to do.
Perfect, thank you, because we'll probably do a check-in table. I'm working on all the details now and I'll send it out to everybody, but we want to make sure we really do it up right and then just continue to grow next year, because I think I'm excited about it. We're excited to have it. But that's our biggest thing right now that we're focusing on, that, and then I'll be starting to work on the budget. As soon as that's over, it'll be getting to be budget season, and that's the main thing. On a different note, we've talked about, and Bob can bring it up a bit, but I'm going to finish this and then we can have Bob talk about it. But the Affordable Housing Trust, thank you, Bob, for making sure that we have representation on it, because part of the charter or whatever was sent said that it was, and Bob can talk more to this, that it would have COA representation. I would like to propose that Maureen Hickey be the person from our COA board that would represent us on the Affordable Housing Trust. I think that she is a natural fit for that as our housing authority queen. So I would like to recommend that we have her be the person that moves forward. And I bring it up now ahead because I'm not sure when the Affordable Housing Trust board is going to be, when you're actually going to be looking for the recommendations, Bob.
Well, I know that Steve and Sherry Dalton have been putting out advertisements for the 3 at-large members. I don't know whether Steve was going to be sending notification to all of the different committees, such as Council on Aging, to let you know that he wants your nominations. You haven't received anything formal yet from Steve's office?
I do not believe so. I'll have to double check to make sure I'm not just missing it.
All right, I'll check with Steve on that. And the Housing Authority also has a place at the table. But
Yeah.
that would be good if Maureen is going to serve on it. To me, serving on it as a representative from the Council of Aging makes more sense because with the Wakefield Housing Authority, she's an employee. So that would work
Yeah.
out fine if she wants to do that.
I
As the
can't
council
serve on it, as the housing authority. I would
You
like
can-
to though, serve on it. Represent the
Yeah.
Council on Aging. I really would like that.
And that would work out well. Another, you'd have one of your other elected members or appointed members from your housing authority that could serve on it in that capacity. So that would work well.
So I was hoping we could vote on that, as you guys could vote on that as a board tonight, so that if the email comes from, when the email comes from Steve, if it's before the next meeting, we don't have to wait until the next meeting to vote on it. We can actually just move Maureen's name forward and not delay anything. May not be the case, but just in case, I like to be prepared.
Yeah, and Maureen has agreed to accept the nomination, right? And so, I nominate that, or I move that Maureen be our representative on the Affordable Housing Partnership Committee, when it's asked for.
I'll second that.
Julie second.
Julie second. Okay.
Sorry, Sherry. Teresa.
I have to keep going back and forth between your screen and my desktop so I can take the minutes. So I keep missing who's speaking.
I should say it after they say it, Sherry, to help.
Okay, yeah, please say your
all right.
names.
So it's moved by me, it's seconded by Julie. All in favor that Maureen be our representative? Yeah.
I,
Aye. All opposed, any opposed? Thank you, Maureen. Go get them. Go get them. Make sure we have abundant affordable housing.
That's it for me. Thank you.
No, the board meeting on the agenda, as you and I sort of discussed, board meeting ideas and input. Karen and I were talking last week about how, in additional ways the board might be able to help. And correct me if I'm stating this wrong, Karen, but in terms of ideas, thoughts about future programming or initiatives of the senior center, if there's any that you have ever and you're not communicating with her via email or other ways, or through this meeting, please always be keeping that in mind. What would you add to that?
In our bucket list for the fall, I have some meetings coming up the next couple of weeks, or to add a bereavement support group and a caregiver support group at the senior center. I think that's one area that we're really missing as that kind of a nurturing support group type of environment. So I do have some meetings with Mystic Valley planned. So hopefully I'll have more for you at the next meeting.
And anything else that you might be thinking about in your brain? Okay, anybody have any comments or questions about anything that's happened in the last 10 minutes?
I just wanted to say, the presentation, I just had written down JJ Round before you mentioned it, Karen. So I do think that's a really good idea. to email them about, because of the garden and Harts Hill being right on the other side, it would really probably be a great place to, I don't know if they can have some kind of way to walk around it, or like you said, get to the gardens easier. But that's a good idea.
You're referencing people that live in Harts Hill in that area that could cut through, or not cut through, but have an accessible path and
Right,
journey.
yeah, and to, like they said, to the gardens. I know I had a few tenants that, have garden boxes themselves, but it just would be nice if it was easier to walk to.
Yeah.
So the town had is doing an ADA study right now. They came to the senior center to look at all of our stuff to see, and they're sending us out a report. But part of that, and I think they'll include it, we did look at, I don't know if anybody realizes, we have that kind of strange patio that's on top of the cover when you go in the handicapped accessible door in the back. And the tiles are all kind of wonky right now, so it's not hugely safe to be out. Well, it's not unsafe, but I wouldn't want to have seniors out there. But my dream someday would be able to have that in better shape, because I would love to have our own little garden out there that could be part of programming. And we talked about it with the ADA guys when they were doing our assessment. So I'm curious to see if they add that into their plan. But they did a thorough look at the building, and they definitely pointed out a few things to me. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they come out with, and then the town will of course have to prioritize what they want to tackle first. But I think it's a good initiative of the town to take that on and try and move us forward with some of the ADA improvements we can make for things that are already in place.
Right. That's great. A few things that we've been talking about over the last few months have been the bylaws and the procedures guide, some kind of a procedures guide, and onboarding for either COA board members in particular, but possibly also volunteers at the senior center. And Sherry and Maureen have been doing some things with that. I've been doing some things with that. So it's not on there's nothing that we're going to present tonight at all, but that hasn't been dropped. It hasn't been lost. And I'm just wondering, or I'm not wondering, I'm telling you that I'm asking that we not lose track of it. And we're going to have some offline conversations, not a COA meeting, but some offline conversations about the bylaws update and the onboarding documents over the next month or so. And hopefully, certainly by the end of the year, we'll have some things in place that have good input.
Could you just say what onboarding documents are? I don't know the term.
An orientation on board, like when you came on last year, Jim, or last spring, we didn't
Last
give you
month.
anything. No, it was in the spring, but we didn't give you anything, I don't think, to orient you to.
Right.
What
So
to
that
see
kind
them-
of onboarding packet.
Yeah,
Introduction.
yeah, orientation.
Got it.
What do you need to know? What are you required to do? What's of interest to you? What's, that kind of stuff what are our bylaws? What are our procedures? What are our,
Mhm.
what is our purpose? As well as any kind of documentation. I know the town has does documentation on people, and they ran a query and whatever they did. A conflict of interest. Julie and Jim, did you go to a conflict of interest training? You did, okay.
Yes.
But you may not have even known about that, you just got an email that said you have to do this, which is fine. But managing expectations
It was a
required.
good training,
Yeah, it is a good
as
training.
I recall.
Yeah. So we don't have a new business section, so this is not new business, but any thoughts, questions, ideas, needs, wants before we adjourn?
I had two quick things, if I could,
Sure.
Bob.
I know, yep.
I know you guys have been very involved in the past in master plan. My understanding that the updated master plan, I think starting on September 14th, is going to be promulgated to the public with a 2-week period of time, September 14th to 29th, I believe, for a public online comment period. So that should be coming out soon.
And how is that going to be announced? Bob, do you know?
I think it's going to be announced through MAPC and the master plan working group.
I mean,
And
it'll come
Sherry
out,
Dalton.
how will people know
Yeah,
about it?
it's going to come out through the town, so I understand. According to an email that the town council received from Sherry Dalton.
Okay,
So it's
so
supposed
but
to be coming
people,
out. It's coming out on the 14th. So I was going to check and see if it does indeed come out on the 14th. I'm still going to be up here in the mountains, but I'm going to check on that. But her email doesn't say how it's being sent out.
yeah.
It just says 2-week public online comment period will run from the 14th to the 29th. That includes the town council, so that's the earliest I'm going to be seeing it too. The other one, and I know we talked about this before, I talked about it with Karen and with you, the bike and pedestrian plan that got presented to the town council back on July 10th.
Yeah.
And if you recall, you guys did not get it. They never, MAPC did not sit down with the Council on Aging and get your input. But once it was brought to your attention, when we spoke, then you were given an opportunity to give input to the community and economic director for the town of Wakefield, right?
Yep.
That
Yes.
bike plan, the updated bike plan should be coming out sometime in early October. I have not seen the updated version of it. It's like I said, it's going to come out in early October. But I will note that one of the things that I brought to Aaron's attention, the community and economic development coordinator, was on the second to last page of that bike plan. And I don't have it in front of me, so this is from memory, but I believe it's on page 58. It says that the Council on Aging should be consulted throughout the entire process. And I found that puzzling because the original version has language like that, and yet the Wakefield Council on Aging was never consulted when that bike plan was put together. And it doesn't mention any other committee or board or commission in town, but it specifically says Council on Aging should be consulted throughout the entire process. So I was querying them as to why they had language to that effect in there, and then neglected to even contact you to, if you haven't figured this out by now, I'm very big into process and policies and things of that nature. So I think it's great that you guys are updating your, having bylaws, and you're having an orientation program for your new members, because that's something the town council doesn't even have. And hopefully we can get that rectified soon. But I do want to make sure that when that updated bike plan comes out, one of the first things I'm going to look for is to see whether the input that you all provided them recently was put in there. And I encourage you to check on that as well as soon as the bike plan comes out.
I will tell you that the Human Rights Commission for the last few years, we developed an onboarding orientation for our new members. So we might be the only town committee or council that's currently doing that. So that's one of the reasons why I was so interested in having that for this as well, because it's proven very valuable for everyone.
That was Sherry,
Yeah.
if you can say, I don't know if you can tell who's talking, but that was Sherry Oken.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, he's
I don't know if he can, I don't know what he,
he's not seeing us, but
So that's all I had. Thank you for letting me.
well,
provide a little bit of input.
thank you for bringing both of those forward, yeah. I'm very interested in how this little 2-week window. Yeah, I was on the Vision 2030 committee and wasn't on the master planning, but this is Susan. I am definitely concerned about the limited circulation of some of these things. And, it's a townwide feedback process. It's supposed to be a townwide feedback process. But a lot of people, as we know, they don't know, they don't see it. There's not even lead time here. So for example, to put a little blurb in the senior center newsletter, there's not a window to do that because they want feedback by the 29th of this month. If the feedback process was October 30th, there could be a blurb in the senior center newsletter, to get the word out. So I'm going to be looking for that tomorrow, Bob, September 14th, tomorrow.
And Erin is going to be at Senior Resource Fair Day to talk about the master plan with the people who come. and answer any questions and get input. So that'll be a great way for people who are not necessarily up on the computer to be able to sit down and really talk master plan with Erin.
Good. Okay, anything else? Any other comments?
I just note that one thing on the agenda was setting the time for future meetings. I don't know if that's something that is up for discussion or,
Yeah, I should have mentioned, that's not on the, it was on the, it's in the minutes to be on the agenda. It wasn't on the
oh,
agenda.
but it didn't make the agenda. All
Well,
right.
it didn't make the agenda, and it was sort of deliberate because it was known that Christina wasn't going to be here. And so it hasn't been dropped from consideration, but it's just sort of a purposeful oversight. Can I say that? It's a purposeful
see.
oversight on my part.
That
Because
makes sense.
I knew Christina wasn't going to be here, so felt it was important to have a full attendance when we make that decision. So October could be could be when we do that. But thank you for remembering that, Jim.
Yes, you're welcome.
Okay. Well, again, thank you, everybody. Thank you for your input.
Can I
your-
just, Susan, one thing, I noticed that, Joanne is logged off. I don't know if we need to put that in the minutes. Sherry, I don't know if we add that. I do
I
that
don't know what
sometimes.
time she logged off.
Yeah, I do that in the housing minutes only because it explains votes sometimes if the vote number changes.
Yes. But I didn't see when it happened. Does anyone recall how, Maureen, do you recall?
It was when Bob, right around the time Bob started talking, I believe, but I wouldn't put that in the minutes. I would just put that she did log off near the last part of the meeting.
Okay, that was like around 7:25.
Yeah, but I wouldn't put a time, yeah. It was before that, because Bob talked probably from 7:20 or so. Mhm.
Okay, I'm just putting it on I'm noting it in the present that she had logged off at 7:20.
Okay, can you say around 7:20?
Yes, I can.
Thank you, Maureen. Yeah, that's. Okay. All right, we'll have a good week. Hope by the next time we meet, it'll be fully pumpkin season, so.
We need to have a motion to adjourn. I'll make a motion to adjourn at 7:28 PM.
I
I'll
will
second
happily
that.
second.
Okay.
All right, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I
Thank you
See
all.
you at the art show, everyone.